Time is a precious commodity. People use it for all sorts of things. Some use it for work and other responsibilities. Me? I'm going to use time to talk to some really awesome people. I'm Sergio Barrera, and this is A Few Minutes With. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of A Few Minutes With. I am Sergio Barrera, and I am joined as always by the amazing and awesome and glorious Susan Chisholm. And George came back. So
one day, that's my life goal right there. Just one day I'm going to get a good intro.
I feel like I need to get you like something big, like maybe like a symphony to play you in, you know, or maybe like if you think about Glorious from Bobby Roode, like something like that.
I'll get a Ric Flair robe.
You go.
Yeah.
Something with baubles.
And I'll get pyro and light show and, you know, I'll invest in all that.
There's a kid. I saw a TikTok once of a kid. What is his name? Who has... The kid isn't more than 13 years old, and whenever he gets some kind of like major kill in this game that he streams, he has an entire like pyro thing behind him and like lights and stuff and lasers. It's the most amazing thing, and I'm over here trying to get like a cool background. So like it's crazy. It's crazy. I'm gonna have to find that video, and maybe later when George is talking, I won't pay attention and I'll find it. So George, why do I give you a hard time, buddy? You're a cool guy.
Yeah, I like to think so, but you know, I always piss you off one way or another, and you hold a grudge against me. And
no, not at all.
Yeah.
But anyway, Susan, how's it going?
Hi, it's great, fantastic.
Well? Have you recovered from our Doritos adventure?
I gave them to the kids. Not gonna lie.
There you go. Yeah,
the kids were happy.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to George catching the video on demand of A Taste of the Food Life, the podcast this week, and he'll know what we're talking about. But today, we are here on another episode of A Few Minutes with two of the coolest people I know to hang out with and talk to. And I want to say thank you to all of the folks who have joined us in the chat. Captain Sparkle Pants comes in with first, I believe, to signal that he arrived first. And want to say hi to Rihanna as well.
It's great how that.
I think my logic worked there.
How that worked out, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I want to say hello to Rihanna as well, and to do the Drew. Thank you for stopping by, Drew. Always good to see you. And here we are. So interesting topic of conversation we're going to have today. We're going to talk cars because, George, you had some ideas around things we might talk about because we're known here on A Few Minutes With to talk about absolutely whatever the hell we want to. Absolutely. And so we thought, you know, George contributes some he's like the brain guy of the operation, and that he always has like a font of topics.
Yeah, you have to be the voice. Susan is obviously the controller and the talent, and she's the the director, and she's the one that tells people to go stand in directions and make sure we put on the mics and on go live and go live and all that stuff. And I give out 1,000 ideas, just only get 10 approved. So there we go.
Hey, that's 10 weeks of episodes.
Yep. Can't complain.
That's more than 2.5 months. But yeah, so you actually you brought to us the notion of discussing things like original cars that we had. I never thought about it, but as I looked at the idea, I thought this is really cool because we often talk about how things that sort of we remember from the past and things that were sort of important memories for us or kind of touch point milestone things in our lives. And I never really realized how little cars played a role in my growing up as opposed to maybe others, one of the two of you or both of you included, where you can think of how old you were when you first started driving or whatever the case might be. So George, you wanted to talk about if we had the opportunity to go back and drive a better vehicle for our first car, like what would it be? And I think that can really branch off into all kinds of different areas. So let's start with, do we remember our first vehicles? And if so, let's talk about them.
first.
All right, good
vehicle.
caught.
I was getting there.
Yeah, Susan has those cogs rolling right now. So I'm like, okay, she's building up that idea. She's building up that idea.
Okay, so my first car. So my dad worked as a car salesman for a dealership in the Rio Grande Valley. My first car was something that someone traded in, and when you work at a car dealership, if something is not really worth anything and you value it, you give the person $500 for their trade-in. So my parents bought a $500 vehicle that someone had traded in. The battery died in the car wash as they were getting it ready to bring it to me.
Nice.
It had a bullet hole in the door.
Wait a minute, hold on.
Say that
Repeat that one more time.
Say that
Repeat that.
It had a bullet hole in the door.
You tried to sneak that through.
Like a gun.
Bullet hole.
Yeah.
It was driven by a college professor in the next town over. So yeah. And so it was
there's a story we'll never know. College professor, bullet hole in his car.
It was a 1988 Saab 900 or 500. 1988 Saab.
Yeah, that was the year I graduated high school.
That was, you know how old I was?
Here we go.
That car was made?
Go ahead.
3.
You were 3. Yeah.
I was 3. So yeah, my car was almost as old as I was. It was a pile of bolts and electrical problems. It didn't have a heater. Like there was like a pipe that came out of the firewall on the engine where the heater was supposed to screw into, and it wasn't there. The sunroof was off the track, so it leaked a lot of water when it rained.
This is so great. I love it.
It stranded me on more than one occasion because the alternator was crap. We had it rebuilt multiple times.
But Susan, I have to ask you, I mean, as a first car, did you drive around going, yeah, I got me a car?
I mean, yeah, I had a car. Like, I don't know. One of my friends had a bumper sticker on their, equally, jalopy type car. And it said, you have to be real confident to be seen in a car like this.
Hey, listen, that's more car than I ever had at that age. So I can't say much. It reminds me of my older brother's first car. We called it the Lizard. It was this like long, like, gosh, I don't even, it was like a Cadillac kind of like, but an old style. At the time, it was very old already. And it was like dark lizard green. It had those long doors, like one on each side, and you had to like push the seat forward to get in the back seat, kind of thing.
A coupe.
I mean, this was a unique car, and you saw it turn the corner, and like 5 minutes later, the rest of the car finished turning the corner. So and it was not a limo. So yeah.
My Saab, so I would have gotten it in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2001. And my mom had it in her garage, just sitting there until after I was already married, I think. So 2006. I remember Cullen was with me when they towed it away. And I was like,
you were emotional, weren't you?
I was like tearing up, and I was like, this thing was such a piece of crap. Like I was stranded like 20 miles from home, and that was before cell phones, and so I had to like pull over and get it. I went to a gas station and bought a bottle of water, and the guy was so confused because it was the middle of summer. He was so confused why I wanted one that wasn't in the cooler. I wanted a room temperature water to put in my radiator. And then I waited for someone to come jumpstart my car. And Yeah, it was
Adventures.
great. I had to put a bottle, like I had to put a gallon of water in the radiator like once a week.
Damn.
Yeah, my first car
Nice.
was something else.
Awesome. What about you, George? First cars. What does that look like for you?
2003 Royal Blue Dodge Neon.
Ooh.
So four door car, small sedan. Got it back in God, 2007, 2008, 9, 10. Had been about 2010 that I got it in. So not that far away in years, but yeah,
Same.
yeah, I remember it was my first car. I was working at GameStop still, so I was like, finally, I have a job, I have a car, and that didn't last very long because I ended up getting into an accident. But it was my first
Oh man.
car, and
Oh.
yeah. But
Yeah.
here's a kicker. Like, I love that thing. Like, I remember going to what is it? I ended up taking one of my friends to the movies. I was like, this was my first time driving without my parents, and I was like, I told my mom like straight up. I was like, yeah, hey, me and a friend are gonna go to watch. I don't even remember what it was. We're gonna go to the movies or whatever, and she's like, but you don't have a license. I'm like, I know, but I have a car and I have gas money, so let's do it. And I remember I got into almost like 3 accidents that day just
Oh
because I was
no.
cutting off people at the
Dang, son.
light. And yeah, I just remember like driving that thing around, and then it was awesome though. I remember I had automatic windows. That was a cool thing. What is it? AM FM radio, CD player. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, that was. I wouldn't have traded that thing. I honestly, I wish I had that car still, just because
Oh yeah.
that thing was like, that was my first car.
Yeah. There's a lot of sentimentality that people attach to that. I actually started late in life. I mean, I'm not ashamed anymore to admit that my first car actually didn't become a thing for me until maybe let me think, mid 20s. Yeah. As you know, I grew up one of 6. You know, my parents were. It's like, hey, you're gonna work. If you want a car, you save up the money and see if you can do it. Hence the lizard. In the case of my brother, I was never going to be able to save enough money to get my own car. I was working to save money to go to college, and unbeknownst to me, that's another story for another time. And so I never bothered to learn how to drive. Like, I learned how to drive very late.
Mhm.
I walked everywhere, and so whether it was from home to work or home to school, I walked. And even when I went to college, I would take, I moved to San Marcos. There was a bus system that got you to the university, grounds. So I could take the bus. When I had to work, I walked to work. And so it was actually not until I turned 21 that I even learned how to drive. And my wife, Jen, is the one who taught me. And I'll never forget the very first day that we attempted it. I took a left turn without stepping on the brake. And so I'll let you guys figure out how that went.
I can hear Jen.
Oh, yeah. No, well, I'll just tell you straight up. We came to a stop. She looked at me and she said, "Get out." And that was the end of that first driving lesson. And it was a Honda Civic. I forget the year, but it was still, when it was sort of that, it had that like sloping front end and the really blocky, what do you call it? Trunk. Thank you. And yeah, so my first car that I ever drove was a Honda Civic. I'll never forget it. It was a silver Honda Civic. And yeah, I was 21 when I got my license, and did learn how to drive, and I do very well now. I've driven hundreds of thousands of miles.
I love it.
But yeah, no, it was nothing that I needed to do, and so I learned very, very late. And when I finally got my license, young couple, we only could afford the one car, and it wasn't until 1996, 97 that I actually got my very first car that I actually chose and paid for. And it was a blue Kia Sportage, royal blue. I'll never forget it. And there were like no sharp corners on it. It was like really sort of roundish. And I loved that Kia Sportage, man. It was awesome. And then I drove that thing until the wheels fell off and ended up in what do you call it? What is the Chevy truck that's like the
Silverado.
Shoot. There you go. Thank you. A Chevy Silverado. So I became a truck guy for a bit at a couple of pickup trucks. And and then I got my job in Round Rock where I had to commute for 3 years. And 1 week of driving that truck back and forth, Sergio began to realize that maybe Priuses were the way to go. So I think the number of cars I've even purchased and had that I call my own, I can think of, well, the Priuses were kind of an adventure because I had 3 in 10 years. But so if you count the Priuses as one, I've had basically, five different vehicles in the course of my time, but I kind of lump all the Priuses since they were the same experience. But yeah, now I have a Nissan Rogue that I'm very happy with, royal blue. And but it took me a while to get to that first car kind of thing. I think the Nissan Rogue for me is like, I think of it as a first car purchase again, because it was exiting the Prius phase of my life. So
I was actually surprised that you got the Nissan Rogue. I remember you were texting me about that you were at the auto dealership and you're like, I know what I'm going to want. And then Susan was there also. And I guess she was egging you on certain things.
No,
that's not quite how that went.
No. Let's reverse that and play it back again correctly.
No, sir. That is not how that went down.
So, no.
Yeah, I'm just kidding around. I know that she wasn't egging you on. I know you were talking about like your different options of vehicles.
Yeah,
but,
there was a Jeep I wanted, but I just couldn't justify the price, man.
Nope,
just couldn't justify it.
No, and what the part about it is we were talking about he would the salesman would walk around and he'd be like, oh, this is blah 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 blah, and it's got blah blah blah. And Sergio, you know how he's like, like this tall. He would kind of be like listening to the guy, and then he'd go, and he'd look at me, and I would go, and just no. Let's see another.
Okay, so now the whole world knows that I can't make my own decision when it comes to
no.
Right.
Painted that picture.
I'm tasing you.
So it wasn't that she was egging me on; it's that I had no understanding whatsoever.
Just as much as he was. The salesman was like, let me do my job. Like, shut up.
All right, good night, everybody.
So before we end up losing anybody on this show, I will say that I'm actually the newest person with the vehicle.
You are, as a matter of fact, yeah.
And that's actually where I kind of got the ideas from, because I'm like, dude, like, so I got last Tuesday, pulled the trigger, got my Ford EcoSport, and I'm actually in a 2020 Hyundai Veloster. And I love that thing just because it's like the bomb diggity. And the way I've been saying, it's like that was my EcoSport was my stepdad car, and now this is my single parent car. So no, even though I don't got no kids, but
and I'm going to tell you, George, because I saw it. What was it, Saturday or whenever it was? I saw you this weekend, and or Sunday, and he had told me before, Susan. He was like, okay, so I got a new car, and he showed it to me. He sent me a picture, and he's like, I don't know how to say this, but
with all due respect,
you're not going to fit in it. And I was like, okay, thank you. So then I see him a couple of days later for breakfast, and I walk outside, and as we're leaving, I look at his car, and I'm like, oh damn, he's right. Like, I think I could wear it like a shoe. Yeah. So
I kind of
you fit in my car.
It's smaller than your car.
I have a well, maybe I don't know. I have a compact car.
I can just tell the front portion of the car. Like, yeah, I would be like, so George, where are we going? It's like, yeah.
I picture the scene in the Flintstones where he kind of hits his head through the roof and his head's just poking out. That's me removing my sunroof, and Sergio's just like sticking out. So
when I would get out of his car, I'm sure like you would hear that popping sound of all the air rushing back into it as I got out of the car. So yeah, this is a small car, but
with all due respect,
it's pretty sporty looking. It's pretty sporty looking. So
yeah. I would love to have one of those cars.
Yeah. I gotta.
I'm not allowed to have a sports car or sporty car.
I mean,
pants.
Yeah, I mean the only reason I really got it was because I was like, it had 3 buttons on there, or one button that said mode, and it was like normal, sport, and eco. I was I wonder what the sport button does, and sure enough, yeah, like it's got the shifter, it's got the paddles in the back. I was like, oh my god, this is the Batmobile! I have the power. And
that's funny.
But yeah, I don't think the way my gas was going, so I was like, no, EcoSport it is.
Yeah. So with that, I want to introduce one of your questions. I'm going to go with the second one. The question that George posed to us for this episode was: if you had to get rid of your vehicle and replace it with a non-realistic vehicle. Now, I don't know if you mean non-realistic, like something that maybe is without, like beyond our reach, or some form of like fictitious car, like. But if we wanted to replace our current vehicle with something, I'm guessing more, snazzier. Is that what you meant, or what was your thought there?
Let's go with out of our reach. Let's go with out of our reach.
Out of our reach. Well, anything is 2023. Yeah. So for me, because I'm cheap.
Like we think of like the best way I can compare it is think of like, top of the line Ferrari or a DeLorean or a, like a monster truck, or, with.
Why am I hearing? Because I'm rich and you're poor.
I mean,
I mean, see, the thing with me and number one, I don't fit in Ferraris nor Porsches. I don't know that I would ever get into something that would be something like that. But I mean, I just want a really nice truck, and they're so expensive these days. If I'm going to get something that's going to be really like fully loaded kind of thing, they just get more and more expensive every year. So
I was thinking, kind of top it off or to kind of start the conversation. I was thinking about the Batmobile. How cool would it be to have a Batmobile, like just as your day-to-day driver? Like, you get tired of Friday evening traffic, push the turbo button, run over a bunch of cars, or do what Batman does.
That's pretty violent. So
I mean, sorry.
Or do what Batman does.
Yeah.
Like, I know there's this big debate between Ford and Chevy trucks, but and here's what I mean, because regardless of brand, for me the price tag is the issue. I'm just not willing, right? Because if I look at a 2023 Super Duty F250 from Ford, $96,000.
Yeah,
and it's like that to me. Like I don't think a Ferrari or Rolls Royce or anything like that. When I think like the car that for me is out of reach. I want to go back one day to be able to have one more truck, right, in my life, just because I really, really enjoyed my years when I was driving a truck. But trucks just get more and more expensive every year. And even if you get a used model, you're still going to be paying a hefty price tag because they tend to keep their value, fairly well. So for me, out of reach is more so a product of I'm not willing to pay the price. If that makes sense. So, but I would love to have like at least one more good truck, but with the understanding that I would not help people move. So,
I think Drew mentioned in the chat Ford Lightning. Have you taken a look at those trucks?
Let me look.
Those are the best of two different worlds. You still got the, the way the Ford 4x4s look, and then of course the
it's an electric.
Electric portion also. But here's the kicker. I like the way the Lightnings are just because of one function, and that's when you bring down the tailgate. There's like a little port that plugs into their extended battery or a separate battery. That way, if you needed to use, hey, I need to charge up my car, or hey, I need to charge up my phone, plug it into the port.
$60,000. So yeah, they're nice. I'm looking at them and I'm like, wow, that would be something. So
yeah.
So I'm trying to find the model of vehicle that I'm looking at, but the car that is something that I would really like, that is completely and utterly out of my reach, is actually my pharmacist at when I worked at HEB. My pharmacist had traded in her Mercedes for a brand new BMW electric car, and it's basically M series, and it's sporty and it's fun, and it was so comfortable and so many features, and I want it so bad. But here's the thing: I will never own a BMW because they are outrageously expensive to fix. Everything is proprietary.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, I suppose if I have enough money to buy the BMW, I probably have enough money to fix it. I can't remember that. I'm trying to look it up, and like I'm looking up all the cars. I'm like, it doesn't look like any of those that I'm looking up. I'm like 99, because she explained that she had to have someone come in to her garage and like put in a special electrical box that connects straight to the transformer outside so that she can charge her car.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not. It's not the one that looks like kind of like the Teslas, right? The Tesla
No,
cars?
no. It looks like a regular. It looks like a regular BMW. Yeah. Like, to me, I mean, if you said, "Oh yeah, it's blah blah blah," I'd be like, "Okay." I'm still looking. I'm trying to find it.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of the vehicles that folks are putting in the chat. I think I'm guessing it's pronounced Rivian R1T that Rihanna talks about. I looked up the Brabus that Captain Sparkle Pants put in there, and they're trucks, or in the case of the Brabus, it's more kind of Jeepish. But yeah, I mean, I can see where people would like those. Just for me, out of reach is an unwillingness to pay the price tag. So that's kind of how I view out of reach, because I don't really think about, like, I don't want a sporty car. I don't like sports cars. They're not for me. Probably wouldn't fit in most of them. But then again, I was in a Prius for 10 years and was fairly comfortable. But I like a good sturdy SUV. Like, I'm not too hard to please when it comes to, what cars I look for.
No, I gotta kind of throw back to when you were talking about it, and I kind of know you mentioned, that you were a truck person. So now, seeing the way the trucks are, would you go the route of being getting a lifted truck if you could?
No,
or would just keep it standard all the way?
No, standard. Yeah, no. Lifted trucks do nothing for me in terms of wanting. Yeah, no, not lifted trucks. Lady Arcard writes Mercedes G-Class. I'm looking at that and I'm like, okay, I like that.
It is a BMW i4.
Yeah, I know it looks like I'm on my phone, guys, but I'm looking at what Pooks are putting in the chat because I don't know cars for nothing. So.
It's that 4-door car that they like, and that drives from one direction and goes to the next direction and goes.
It has blinkers.
Has blinkers, and you have windshield wiper.
Hey man, I'm happy when my battery works. So
and has cup holders. Ooh.
Oh, the first thing I look for is Bluetooth. I gotta have my jams. So
Apple CarPlay, baby. Apple CarPlay.
Yeah, no. So what about you, George? What is your out of reach car that you would
I mean, unrealistically, the Batmobile. Realistically, probably dream car. Oh, God, I don't know. You get, what is it? the Ford Lightning would kind of do it for me. I think at that point, I think that would probably be the be all end all.
That's a
But
nice one.
but by that time, I need to have my own house or something because I ain't gonna want to leave the charger out there in my apartments because somebody's gonna rip it off.
Yeah.
So
No, good point.
and I'm not gonna spend an hour just charging the vehicle at these random electric spots. So yeah, I need to have my own place first. But I do like that idea of I don't want to help anybody move. That's a very good idea for a truck. So
Yeah. It's like if you're people like you and I, where we tend to, well, all of us, where we tend to be the helpful ones.
Mhm.
The truck is you're just asking to have pretty much every one of your weekends busy.
Hey friend, are you doing well? Are you doing great? What the hell do you want?
You have a truck,
Okay.
don't you?
Ask that one.
That one.
Look at his comment.
There's so many. Which one? I have the truck and motorcycle I wish for back in high school. Oh, okay. That
How
comment?
many people have we helped move, Captain Sparkle Pants? How many people have we helped move in the 2 years that you've had your truck? One.
Were you expecting none?
I was expecting none. Oh, never mind. One person.
Wow. And that backfired. So
it did, but it was all worth it because 2 years and he's only
well, no, I think what you're saying is you've managed to avoid the man. I just made myself sound like a bad friend because now people are going to be like, man, if he does have a truck, I know better than to ask him now. At least the folks who are watching. So
I'm afraid to say that.
I wouldn't say no. That's the thing. If people ask me, I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, and you're gonna, but then you're gonna grumble about it the entire time.
You were just like,
wow. We're gonna get that text message. Hey, what are you doing, Sergio? I'm busy helping somebody. I don't want to help out. Right. I'll talk to y'all later.
No, I would never say that. Not somebody.
No, he would say like
right
he would be like, yeah, absolutely, and then he'd get there and be like, why did I agree to this?
I had to put.
I would ask, what floor are you on? Because that would be a factor. That would be a factor.
But here's the thing: as the driver of the truck, you have the what's it called? The golden ticket to decide what you're going to do to help them. So
yeah, but you know me well enough to know, both of you, that I'm not going to sit there and not do anything.
What you can do is help pack boxes and put them into your truck, and then drive to the place, unload them, and go back and pack more boxes and load them into your truck.
No, you don't. I don't know. I will be the heavy lifter, pack horse. I'll load stuff. I do not like packing boxes. No.
Okay, all right. How's this? We're gonna make a pact. Nobody's watching this show, anyways. I'm just kidding.
I'm looking at a very full set of everybody. Please forgive George. All of you who are watching.
No, I was gonna say
for being
all
here
the nobodies. Will you raise your hands, please?
Yeah, I go. No, I was gonna make a pact. Nobody's watching, anyways. We're gonna tell them, if we need to get out of the promise that we're gonna help them out in a truck, we just say, "Hey, I need you to call me and say it's an emergency to leave."
Wow.
Nobody heard me say that.
So we're going to discuss how bad friends we are. So, oh my goodness. I
didn't say that I wouldn't help someone move.
No, you were the one that was like, and how many people have we helped in 2 years? No, but one.
How many people have asked us?
Well, they know better, apparently.
One. No, I just don't have any friends that are moving.
Okay. Wow, this went a completely different direction.
Okay, people, I swear we're not jerks. We're not,
Yeah, thank you. Once again, we appreciate those of you who stopped by and are hanging out tonight, because you're out there and we recognize that, George.
Yeah. I appreciate everybody. It's all, yeah.
Oh my goodness. All righty. The other question you had was, if we had the opportunity to go back and drive a better version of our first car, would we or not? I've driven better Civics than the one that I originally drove, and sure, I mean, but I like my Rogue. So
if there were no mechanical problems and less bullet holes. I would absolutely drive a version of my Saab. There were some features of it that were unique, and I loved it. Like, I really did like it. It was a good car.
Yeah.
You know, despite its problems, I guess. I complained about it a lot, but like I had it for 2 full years and drove it and only had a handful of problems.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the thing about Saabs, and I don't know, obviously, I know you said, Sergio, you're not super familiar with vehicles, but George, I don't know how familiar you are with vehicles. Saab.
Fill in my
Saabs.
stuff.
You just said it, not me. You said it a minute ago. Saabs have like their key ignition is between the seats.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And the hood of the car, and most cars, like the windshield is here and the hood opens like this. The Saab, you had to pull it forward and open it like this off the front of the car. And it was like the novelty of that was the greatest for a 16-year-old in high school.
That's funny.
What year
Does
was
your car do this? An 88.
The heck? Bro, this looks like Special Agent stuff right here. It's like, oh, we'll be about to, what does it do? Some James Bond Special Agent. Did it fly? No. Wrong model.
Wrong model. That was the 900B.
Oh, got it.
That's funny. All right. Well, vehicles certainly do bring back memories. I remember so much of my history with my cars, especially the immense number of tickets and times I've done defensive driving over the years as a result. And I have a heavy right foot. It's just that simple. So want to take a moment to say thank you to a couple of folks who've been with us here tonight. Do the Drew, thank you for yet another month subscribed to the channel. I appreciate you greatly for that. And want to say hello and a thank you for the follow, VTana01. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. VTANA01. Thank you for dropping in, hanging out, and for the follow. I appreciate you very much. So cars and such, there's nostalgia there. There's memories that we have. As we, grow up and get older, I think a good portion of our life is kind of measured by what are we able to choose and afford. And we probably have that sense of like, yeah, this is the car that made me feel like I have now the ability to choose and buy and have in my life the kind of vehicle that I'm comfortable with. Priuses for me were so necessary because of the many years that I was on the road all over the country for roller derby. Now it's like I just want something comfortable, and so thus the Rogue. And yeah,
I never knew how much I loved seat warmers until I had seat warmers. And I will fall on that argument over and over. Like somebody was, I remember a conversation came up. They're like, "Why do you need seat warmers? We're in Texas. It's always 100 degrees." And I'm like, "But for those 2 weeks that it's actually like 40 degrees,
yeah,
or less,
while everybody's going into their car freezing, here I am, remote starting, seat warmers on, and I am now thawing and ready to hit the cold weather." And yeah.
So I'm going to one up you on seat warmers.
Okay.
There are seat coolers. There are air-conditioned seats. Chevy has them on their fancy truck, but like the really fancy version of the Silverado. Anyway, and holy crap, like I was like, oh God, leather. And like my mom and dad have one, and I'm like, oh God, leather seats in Texas. And same thing, like you said, my mom remote started. She's like, oh, I'll just start the seat AC. And I was like, seat AC. I'm skeptical, but I got in the car and I was like, this is incredible. Because on those hot, like this is like, maybe this is TMI, but on those hot days and you're like kind of, you're a little sweaty and you turn on the AC and you just kind of like reach your arms and let the air like go in your shirt. Maybe that's just me, but like it was like that, but like all over. It was incredible. I loved it.
And you have what is it? Steering wheel. What is it? Steering wheel heaters. I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh wow! I had no idea.
Yes.
Yeah, steering wheel. I'm like, I mean, granted, if you ever have a leather steering wheel and the sun is hitting it all day, I'm pretty sure that kind of defeats the point. But during the cold weather, again, I guess steering wheel warmer would be a lifesaver.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. I just want a remote starter. Speaking of remote starters, because
life changing.
Jen would love me even more because she doesn't. I joke around sometimes that the gentleman in me has not been stifled, but I've not had the opportunity with Jen to do the things that I typically would do. She doesn't want me to open her door. When I go to do that, she's like, "No, idiot, get in the car started so the AC can begin." And I'm like, "Got it, okay." Because I'll literally start to walk to her side, like, "Go start the car and bring the AC up." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So
yes, boss. Yes, boss.
So yeah. Yeah. So remote starters next. Because what did they say? Happy wife, happy life. So. All right. Well, we always seem to find ways to make even the weirdest of topics fun. And so as we've explored our car vehicle experiences and such, seat massagers, is that a thing?
Mm-hmm.
I'd never leave the car. I would work from my car. So, now I need to look that up.
You're like in the parking lot of your work and you're like, I'm technically on campus, okay?
Yeah, no kidding. How do I get this laptop to do what I need to do?
Sergio, are you okay? Yes, give me some time. I need a couple more minutes.
He's like,
stop knocking on my window,
George. Why is your voice shaking? I don't know what you're talking about. It's fine.
My buttocks feel good. So, and I think what it is it's like literally rollers inside of the car. So it's turning in circles, and it's on your
we can find out from our new friend Vitana01 who says yes to is there such a thing as seat massagers? They're the one that brought it up, so maybe they can tell us what that's like. Because man, that sounds like something. Sisters Escalade has one.
Oh yeah. You want bells and whistles. Escalade. Woo!
That's going to be classified in truck surge or in vehicle surges not willing to pay for. So because
they're
I'm
nice.
cheap. So no, they are.
Don't have gas mileage either. Trading in that that Rogue.
What's your miles per gallon? 12.
12 city.
The Prius was like 60 something.
45.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh well, 45
to 48, and I'm still good at about 31. When I look at other cars that are like 26, and I'm like, oh man, okay, like going with the Rogue. So, but yeah. All right. Well, we'll definitely want to say thank you to both of you. As always, we have a lot of fun here week to week. Looking forward already to next week as we continue this journey together here on A Few Minutes With. So, George, Susan, thank you so much. And more importantly, we want to thank all of you who were present here today and are present here today, as opposed to what George said. We love you all, and we thank you for hanging out with us, especially those of you who have done so week to week. Over and over and over again. So whatever next week holds, come and find out. And in the meantime, be awesome to one another, love one another, and just be the all-around great people that we know that you are. With that, we leave you with one final message. No matter what you drive, you're awesome. You're amazing. And the world's a better place because you are in it. We will see you next week on A Few Minutes With. Good night, everybody.